Hey, what's up? My name is Joe Barnard, and I want to show you how I make a video. So I'm in the beginning stages of a video right now about a GNC test, or Guidance, Navigation, and Control. If you're not familiar, I make videos about rockets on the BPS.space YouTube channel. I've been doing it for years now, and I have a bunch of thoughts of how to do it, but I also really like seeing this stuff from other creators that I enjoy, how they go about producing their videos, because it's all different. Everyone's got like a different style. So I start off with the scripting process. Scripting is definitely what takes the most time for me. It's the hardest part of the process. Obviously, this is like a little joke here, but I end up spending a lot of time writing out basically the exact script of what I want to say in the video. The reason scripting takes a long time is because I want to be really thoughtful about what we put in the video. I think this is maybe the more important part. Like, I don't want a single sentence in the video that doesn't have to be there. What I want to do is convey like the most amount of value per minute, or the most amount of like interest per minute. So in scripting, my goal is to like trim all of the fat. So I've got a hook here. This is the first. You'll notice that in some of the script, I mark how many minutes have passed. This is me. What I do is I bring out the timer app in my phone, or the stopwatch rather. I start the timer. I start like counting up, and then I read through the script as if I'm filming it, but like while I'm typing it on the computer. And I mark 2-minute point. Then I mark, there's another one coming up here, 10.5 minutes, 13 minutes. As we get closer to the end, I'm like, 14 minutes, 15.5, 16:10. And the goal is to try to estimate how long the video is, because beyond a certain point, if the video is going to be 50 minutes long, it's better to split it into two and just like pull the relevant stuff where it needs to go. So that's the first part, is scripting. There's a lot of referencing footage that happens during the scripting process. So like here, I've got all of this footage that I'm pulling from what is functionally, how big is this? 2 terabytes, 2 terabytes of footage here. And I want to pull 2 or 3 videos out of it. So in here, I've got like, there's flight 1, flight 2, flight 3. We're just doing different flights of a rocket. But then in each folder, I've organized what footage goes where. So there's all these clips of like how I'm trying to build this stuff. I've shot a bunch of stuff already. We're not going to cover that in this video, but this is like editing. Looking through these clips, just like clicking through, being like, oh, look, here's a part where I say something interesting. That's an important part of the scripting. So like, if you go down here, there's a part where I say, oh my God, I think it worked. I say another gorgeous ascent, blah, 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 blah. And this is a clip, this is a clip that I'm pulling from the existing footage. This is a clip that I'm pulling from existing footage. I found parts of clips that will weave into the talking segment of the video. That's a very tedious thing to do, but it pays off. It ends up, I think, making the video a lot better when you can trade off between present you and narration you, or voiceover you, or talking segment you. So the next step is to shoot the talking segment. I use a teleprompter. I use an app on my phone called Eloxny. Eloxny. Sounds Russian. I don't know where it's from, but I take this script, I copy it, put it into my phone app, and then I read in front of a teleprompter. I can't recommend using a teleprompter enough. I've been using one for only a few months now, but it is a game changer. And so I end up filming this, all this stuff in front of what is functionally a set. I really do build stuff here, but I've like torn the light out so it's darker here. I put the relevant rocket and things that we're going to talk about on the table. I try to make it somewhat, relevant to the video we're filming. And then I have to start chopping it up. So I think with this one, I ended up with about an hour and a half of footage. There's a bunch of different timelines that we can look at here, but the raw talking segment, you can see I've got the camera track right here. I've had to chop it up a couple of times because we had to resync the camera timer and the timer on the audio recorder I use, this little Tascam device. They are not quite in sync. So over about 3 hours, or over about an hour and a half, I drift about 5 or 6 frames, and I have to, like, if I want really, really good sync between audio and video, I've got to chop it up. Let me move this over here so you can see some of this stuff better. So I come out with all of this audio. There's like stuff that works. There's stuff that doesn't.
ailerons, by the way. Oh shit, I gotta bring my thing out.
Yeah. So like I'm realizing halfway through, like I actually have to go get the prop, and then I can talk about the rollerons. There's all sorts of mistakes that happen here. And then the next step that I do, and this is, do whatever you want, I chop it up starting here. I chop the whole thing up. So now we have video raw 1 talking V2. Right here is the sponsor segment. I usually chop that up first because on the timeline that I work on, making a video takes between, once I've got a video recorded like this, it takes me between 2 and 7 days to edit the video. And I just like spending a bunch of time on it anyway. So it's ultimately a good thing. But sending the sponsor segment off first allows the sponsor to take their time to approve it or ask for changes or whatever. And then I can like do my own thing and work on the rest of the video. So what I'll do is I'll set an in and out point and just do sponsor segment, export, and send it off for approval first. And that way it's just a little bit more efficient. Next up, I chop up all of this stuff. So like I'll take the best segment. Sometimes I'll leave multiple segments in there too.
It hasn't worked. The most serious attempt at error control was on.
One thing I can recommend too, if you're doing any type of jump cut, that's a jump cut right there.
Worked. The most serious.
And the reason, I jump from like one position to another here. And my biggest recommendation is if I zoom in on the audio, I start this cut at the beginning of the sound. I start the cut at the beginning of the sound. That's the least jarring way to do it, or the most natural looking way to do it. If I were to move this over here,
worked. The most serious.
That little gap makes it a little bit more uncomfortable. There's like a little bit of a pause.
The most serious attempt at error.
So anyway, that's a little technique you can use. Just cut on the very, very beginning of the voice. You can see I've already started splicing some of the clips in here. Like I want to talk about the second flight. So I have the second flight footage. But all of this needs a tremendous amount of cleaning up. So that's where it stands right now. And I will update you in a little bit once we have a little bit more detail. We've got the timeline cut together. It's about 30 minutes total, so I was a little bit off on my estimate. I think I estimated like 25 minutes. The next step here is going to be adding B-roll, making music for it, or pulling music from an existing library and trying to polish things up. One more thing that I do want to note is how important color correction is depending on what you're shooting with. If you're shooting with like an A7 III and it's just coming out with the regular Sony color profile, it should look fine. It should actually look pretty close to this. I shoot in, I don't remember exactly what color profile it is, but it's not presentable when it comes out of the camera. And it makes me so frustrated when I like hand someone a piece of really nice footage and they forget to color correct it, because it actually looks like that, which is a lot more flat. It's a lot more, dull tones. It's pretty sharp, but it's not, there's lots of room for good color correction. And so we can pull out a lot of colors. We can really brighten it up, increase the contrast, but not just in a pure contrast way, like increase the visual stimulation of the shot. So I color corrected this stage too, just something that I can apply over the whole section of footage. I also pull out a bunch of audio stuff too. I have a parametric EQ on the audio, reducing room tone or any low stuff, but low vibrations. I usually pull out around 1K or something, and that makes my voice is a little bit nasally sometimes, depending on where the mic is. Pulling out 1K kind of does that, and then I'll boost the highs a little bit to just give it a little more sibilance. Multi-band compressor is great too. I just toss the broadcast like effect on it, and then I'll play with it around from there. I'll like move some of this stuff around.
When the Sidewinder was being developed,
but you've got like a little compression on the upper end. I'm reducing the lower end. So there's all sorts of different techniques. I just like play with it until I think it sounds good. Then I put a hard limiter on there, which keeps it from clipping over here. So it's the default setting for the hard limiter. I limit it to negative 0.1 dB, and we make sure that we don't clip. So YouTube handles clipping really, really well. If you put a video out that clips, YouTube will mess with that audio and like get it to not actually overwhelm your speakers. So it's I can't explain how all of the things work, but some platforms like Twitter does not handle audio clipping quite as well. TikTok handles it differently. YouTube Shorts handles it differently than YouTube somehow. And so making sure that your audio doesn't clip on the way out is a good idea. So I want to start at the very beginning of the video here.
Sponsored by Incogni.
Got the sponsor.
There's something I'm a little afraid of. For the last 9 years, I've been building rockets.
So it's pretty hooky. We think a lot about the first 5 seconds or so, which is right here. It's I have a secret. It's something I'm a little afraid of. Nice hook, right? That's interesting. Oh my God, what is his secret? I'm not here to talk about like script writing, but I've been thinking more and more about structure in the video, and especially structure in the first minute. So what I want to do here though is add some music. Right now, this is like it's too. If I were to leave it dead like this, it would feel too much like an apology video or something. So I want to add like a little music track in here. So I have a rotating cast of like music library stuff that I bring around from project to project. But I don't really want to do that for this one. I have been watching a lot of Colin Samir. If you're familiar with them, they do a lot of like YouTube meta-analysis, and their stuff in their videos, they'll do this fun thing where it won't actually be music. You'll see this in like The Verge does it sometimes. Johnny Harris does it sometimes. It's just drums. It's just percussion. It's just a rhythm. And I really want to try that. I make a lot of the music I do for videos. I don't do every one of them. I've done some videos with licensed stuff. But I kind of want to try that. So I'm going to jump into Logic here. I have an existing project. We're just going to create a new one, close this project, don't save it because I just opened it. And we're going to create a drummer. I'm not going to walk through this process too much. I've got Logic open here. Try to get it to show up in the frame. And my goal, I mean, Logic is great because it tries to hold your hand so hard through the whole process. So we already have, this is very far away from the beat that I want, but I'm going to mess around in Logic for a little bit and then come back with a track that feels like kind of fun. It's a little bit like upbeat. It's a little crunchy. Those are the vibes that I'm going for. Stay tuned. I'm going to work on that and see if I can cultivate it. Yeah. Okay. There we go. All right. Let's not do this. The swing sucks. This is kind of cheating, but I don't know. The loops are there for you to use, and I look at them as like, you know, I could make my own LUT for a camera. I could do my own color science stuff, or I could go like, damn, I love the way this filter looks. The reason people make filters and templates is so that you can use them. I could do both. I could do both kits. Having two drums is cool. You guys ever listen to Drew of the Drew? Hold on. Let me put you onto some shit really quick. Green is what you want, and Cry Die Fly. I'm pretty sure the whole album was tracked with two kits. I'm like 90% sure it's two drum kits on the whole the whole album. This might be it. Maybe this is the thing we want. Maybe we just want two kits and a really simple intro, you know?
I have a secret. There's something I'm a little afraid of. For the last 9 years, I've been building rockets, and most of them don't fly like your typical model rocket.
We can do more. Okay. Woo! This is a little too dirty. This bad boy right here, he's a little bit too full of dirt, which I get. It's fun to be in the dirt. That's more live. I mean, but it has to match. Woo! And you got to be really slamming on it too. If we can modify how, like, the velocity setting or whatever. It's not. I can hear the snares rattling. That's what it is. It's too isolated on the SoCal kit. I'm cutting out the rest of this section because I literally spent like 2 hours on just getting the right drum sound, and it wasn't a good use of time. At parts of it, I called my drummer friend and was like, "Would you be willing to lay down a track for me of just drums?" And it was just a voicemail, but at some point it was like, "Dog, this is way too much. It's fun to try hard. It's not fun to be like a try hard." Anyway, yeah, accept a B minus. B minus gets you to finish the project. So I made a B minus drum track. Let's move on. So the cool thing about making your own music is that over time, if you do it for long enough, like I have a whole library. And like none of these songs are, none of them are amazing, but they're all definitely good enough for background music. And so now every time I make a new song, I have this music folder with all of this stuff in it, and I can go into music, drum track 1, bounces, and then like boom, there go the drum tracks. And now this is going to follow me around in the music folder for every project. Every project it gets bumped forward. What is this? Damn, throwback to cooking with Joey B. Anyway, yeah, bring your music with you because then it carries around with you. So that's the plan. I mean, we've not yet edited a single part of this video, but now we can get more started because I have a little bit of music that we can cut to. If we do this,
I'm a little afraid
of. So we do like a tiny intro, we'll drop the volume, and then we'll continue the narration.
Afraid of. For the last 9 years, I've been...
This has to just be narration, so we're not going to have it live, and it has to be before it fades.
For the last 9 years, I've been building rockets, and most of them don't fly like your typical model rocket.
And then we raise it again.
Like your typical model rocket. That's not the secret. I mean, I made a whole YouTube channel out of it, so... That's not the secret. I mean, I made a whole YouTube channel out of it.
So right now I'm just working on pacing because these things, if we break them up, we don't want to break it up too much, but if I have a couple of breaks, it's a nice back and forth. It's entertaining. You're not just sitting there looking at some dude like talking to the camera the whole time.
Sponsored by Incogni. I have a secret. There's something I'm a little afraid of. For the last 9 years, I've been building...
So this shot right here is going to be like rolling out something from a top-down shot, like I'm about to show you or draw you something.
For the last 9 years, I've been building rockets, and most of them don't fly like your typical model rocket.
I could even do something really creative here where I draw a TV box on a piece of paper and then matte it in, and show the clips of those rockets flying.
That's not the secret.
Think about the timing on this.
That's not the secret.
Yeah, this is great. This is the fun part of editing where you're like finding the pace.
There's something I'm a little afraid of. the last 9 years, I've been building rockets, and most of them don't fly like your typical model rocket. That's not the secret. I mean, I made a whole YouTube channel. And you can think of this like balancing a stick on your finger. When you tilt the rocket motor to the side, there's a little trigonometry you can use to figure out how powerful that resulting side force will be. That is not what I'm afraid of. In fact,
That's not even a relevant detail. I don't know why I didn't catch that in the script. I say this line.
when you tilt the rocket motor to the side, there's a little trigonometry you can use to figure out how powerful that resulting side force will be. That is not what I'm afraid of. In fact,
Oh, the line is good, but it's in service of a joke. But it's a long setup and it's in the intro. Like the plan is
to figure out how powerful that resulting side force will be. That is not what I'm afraid of. In fact, I actually really like trigonometry.
okay, that would be the third time that we bring it back.
Because of that trigonometry, thrust vector control, or TVC, is really easy to simulate. We're talking about that more in the next video, but let's just get to the juicy part.
I don't think this is necessary.
Trigonometry. Because of that trigonometry, thrust vector control, or TVC...
I think let's just get to the juicy part. We cut back and forth to the top-down shot.
Tilt the rocket motor to the side, there's a little trigonometry you can use to figure out how powerful that resulting side force will be.
How do you do smooth zoom-ins? Right-click a keyframe and use temporal interpolation, ease in, ease out. Oh, yeah, okay, I want ease out, ease in. I just want to go faster.
I actually really like trick.
Hey there, so in today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to make some zoom. So let's say I want to zoom in on this point. So blur, we'll set our shooting girl to 360, let's say.
Right, so that's how you blur it. Oh, okay. All right.
The center, and now you can see the velocity of the graph going from slow.
Oh, that's it. Okay, so it's the velocity. So if I take this...
That is not what I'm afraid of. In fact...
Okay, I'm getting better. Oh my god, dude, the interface on this is just dog shit. Okay, so this is ease out. This is ease in. Okay, my mic died for this segment, but I figured out what I wanted to do, which is like a little snap zoom, and it only took me like an hour to figure out how to do it. Moving on. So the next thing we're going to do here, I have this intro section, and I'm counting on adding other shots here. So you'll see I've got this like, you know, hip, upbeat, whatever. But it's black, right? Like this stuff right here, I know that I'm going to have some overhead drawing shots, or maybe this. So I could write like an I love trigonometry thing on a notebook. The goal being like, you know, you take something like this, you film it from the overhead shot in the other room, and then you use it as a filler, as a way to transition, to keep the talking segments interesting, to illustrate a point better. You can do this with animation too, and I would like to get better at animation to the point where I can do this, but for now we're going to use the overhead shots to keep things fast and efficient. Plus it's kind of endearing almost. The reason, by the way, that I'm focusing really, really hard on this stuff, like this is all within the first, if you see the timer up there, like this is all within the first 10, 20, 15 seconds, is for those who like aren't aware, I haven't put a lot of importance on this in the past, and I'm trying to do more of it. Those first few seconds are where you decide whether you have a good retention rate or not. You can lose, I mean, easily you lose like half of your viewers in the first 30 seconds. So whatever you can do to be like, look how cool this is going to be. It's going to be sick. That's, you know, you want to put effort into that. And then once we get like deeper into the video, we can move a lot faster and not put quite as much effort in. But this initial section has to be like exciting and interesting and hooky. So that's what we're doing. We've got these overhead shots, and as I go through these overhead shots, they're gonna get populated out, and then we'll film them all at once, drop them in the video, and that'll be it. Okay, yeah. So we've got our overhead shot, we've got our TVC B-roll.
Rockets, and most of them don't fly like your typical model rocket. Keep themselves.
Okay, so this is more TVC B-roll. If I can cut on the section where I pull the pull the rod out. That would also be great. Yeah. So
at the bottom, and you can think
like this.
at the bottom, and you can think of this like balancing a stick.
So then there's more TVC B-roll here. Whoops. Oh my God. It's really hard to edit because my computer's also like doing all the screen recording. By the way, dude, I'm about to become Mr. Beast. Do you see this zoom?
It's not what I'm afraid of. In fact, I actually really like trigonometry.
This thing, it took me like 15 minutes to figure out how to do it, but how to do like the snap zoom, and then I made it a template, so now I can do it a lot. Very exciting. I could do, I mean, maybe I should do like some animation stuff. It would be really cool to do like, to digitally do a bunch of stuff in After Effects and then have that be a theme. Okay, so this is actually not where we want to stop it. But these clips are going to be the failing clips. We should probably stop. When's the end of the intro?
Aerodynamic control to work. Before we begin.
Okay, so this is really the end of the intro. It's about 2 minutes long. If we can extend the drums, we should maybe do that. Anyway, okay, I'm going to stop recording. So the next thing here is another intro song because I know what I can hear in my brain, and I know that I want to create it. And what is the point of having the tools to create it if you don't use them? So I've got my piano here. I've got a little pedal on the ground. Now my webcam's all messed up. But yeah, the goal is we're just going to create the things that I can hear in my head. That's like the best part of making stuff online is I'm going to take the things that are in my head and I'm going to put them in here, and then everyone's going to be able to hear them, and I'm going to be able to communicate the things that I feel sonically. Awesome. It's fucking great. Okay, I know what I have in my head. I think it comes from the arpeggiator. Yeah, okay, so here we go. Now you'll be able to hear it. The tone that I have in my head that I want to create is a very, very retro 70s synth, maybe even 60s. As mid-tony as we can get it. So what I kind of want, if we just turn the arpeggiator off, is like a, actually, and it has to have a much longer sustain. What am I looking for here? Yeah, it's like that, but with, it's very, vintage is the word I want to use. Like I imagine just a big sweep. Okay, let's do another one. Ooh, the delay is great, by the way. So we can pump that up. Actually, what we want is ba 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 ba. So it's got to be like quarter and half note or something. Ooh, okay, I like that. And also, I think I have this mapped. I have one of these knobs mapped. There it is. Okay, cool. So what we can do is we can track both things. If I put this on full right, we can track both things. And awesome. Okay, great. Let's wait till the tape goes out and then we'll roll it. It's hard to make cool shit. The reason shit is cool is because it's hard. And you work hard and then it becomes cool. So, like, it's frustrating. What I want to do is, like, toss a bunch of stuff in the video and, like, do the thing. But what I actually want to do is every time I make a video, I want to push a little harder. I want to push a little forward in how good the video is, how much, like, not effort necessarily, but sometimes like the thought that I'm putting into it, I want to be pushing. And this is what pushing looks like. It's sitting here analyzing the synth. This is what pushing looks like. This is what effort looks like. All right. Damn it! Oh, I'm not on the duplicated track anymore. Okay. That sucks, dude. Okay, so we know the ARP needs to turn off, and I think the sound will be the same, but we need this. Right. Cool. So this is like just a stinger. This is going to be read, and any automation was not carried over, so we're good there. Okay, next, let's do... Nope. How do I make a new track in Logic? Good Lord, no. It's not a drummer, it's just a software instrument, but it's a blank one, and all we're going to do is hit a kick, right? Okay. The reason we're doing this is because we take all these, we quantize them to 1/2 note. And this actually doesn't need to do anything. I'm not interested in a real kick drum sound. What I'm interested in is side chaining everything. A lot of bad samples in here, or a lot of bad sounds. That's actually very nice. Ooh, that's very nice. Okay, so what we're going to do with this is all of this stuff is just going to stack, and we're going to have to start to make decisions about who is stepping on whose toes. But we don't have to do that yet. Oh my god, dude. Just chill. This is so extra. All right. The reason we have this, and then the reason we also do this, is this needs a compressor. Oh, that is such a nice sound. It is crazy. Then the side chain is going to be an instrument. Oh, we could do Vital too. All of the Nest samples are like crazy good. I don't know why this thing always shows up as a million bajillion % screen size, but like, would it possibly be possible for this to get smaller? It won't let me. It won't let me change the size at all. Either way, I found this dude on TikTok, Nest Acoustics. They're so good. I love this stuff. Let's just play around with it for a little bit. Woo! Oh, shit! Oh my god, let him cook! Yeah, I think we want like a little bit. Oh, I didn't even record. All right, this is like good enough for now. I need something there. It's hard to describe. Like, it really does kind of take a lot out of you to be creative. So this is a good intro. I feel good about the pacing. And just like so we're aware, this is how much we've edited. But the proportion of time that I'm spending on this section it's disproportionate, is what you would say. Because actually, like, most of this stuff is not too bad. There's a bunch of drawing that has to happen. There's a little bit of animation, whether it be by hand or After Effects. But this intro is the important part. And I'm focusing hard on pacing and feel, right? So it's like exciting in one way with the drums, right? For the last 9 years, I've been building rockets, and most of them don't fly like your typical model rocket. That's not the... Yeah, so it's just like good beat. Trigonometry. I got the Mr. Beast zoom. In fact, I actually really like trigonometry. Let's just get to the juicy part. The thing I am afraid it hasn't worked. The most serious attempt at aero control was on the project I did with time that I have ever gotten supersonic aerodynamic control to work. Before we begin, I want to answer the question of why I want to do aerodynamic control. As you might be aware... All right, great. Let's get rid of the keyboard, clean the desk, and we can keep pushing. So one of the things I'm doing right now is trying to find a bunch of B-roll. So I have a bunch of Scout F footage that was from 2022. And what I do is in the project folder, I put it in this folder called external, which means, you know, footage that's come from somewhere else. So I have some footage right here from egg drop testing with Mark. I have more egg drop testing with Mark. There's a bunch of there's a bunch of really good clips in here. And the goal is I have, 300 majillion billion hard drives. So consolidate within the project folder so that if I ever wanted to take the project with me, I only need the one folder. It ends up being wasteful. Like you shift around, you have 30 duplicates of one video, but it's better if I ever needed to take something on the road. And that is what the goal is here. So I'm going to go ahead and look through all of this Scout footage, pull things I think will be valuable, and put them in here. Is it final stuff? There's all the where's the TVC characterization? Throttle sims? We can just...
5, 4.
Hey, it's been a few days, and let's take a look at the project. So I've made some progress on the intro here, and although it looks like the video is not very edited, we've only done just a tiny little bit, I'm focusing extremely hard on the intro. This is a new thing I'm trying. We'll see how well it works out, but what I want to do is what a lot of other YouTube people have done, which is conform to the idea that like the first 2-3 minutes of the video, you are trying desperately to hang on to people's attention. So quick cuts, little zoom and punch ins, good music, interesting story, hooky stuff. So when I open the video up, well, there's the sponsor, but then I open it up by like trying to draw you in. I have a secret. There's something I'm a little afraid of. My hope is that that's enough of a hook to be like, oh, what's up? Because otherwise it's a fairly slow clip. Like I'm not opening with the Mr. Beast going like, what's up, you guys? Like whatever. And no shade. It just, I'm not into that style. But yeah, we've got some good stuff going on here. I still need to shoot some overhead footage, so I've just labeled it as such. What I want to do is draw like a little TV on a piece of paper and then mask all of these other clips into that. So yeah, I've got this. This thing, I don't remember if I filmed this or not. This was crazy to figure out. So I used an app. Actually, let me back up a little bit. So what we're looking at here is a really, really long screenshot of the entire channel. But one thing you'll notice if you're like into film at all is that there's motion blur, and you don't get motion blur from a screenshot or moving a screenshot around. So the first thing you could try is, where is it here? The first thing you could try is the transform effect, which is what I'm starting to do more of. I did a couple of tutorials on it, and like, yeah, we're leveling up the video game. And in the transform effect, you can change the speed and also control the shutter angle. So what that means is that as this thing moves in, you can either use the composition shutter angle, which is going to be 0. Actually, that's not true. Or you could have 0 shutter angle, which is what that would look like. or you could go 180, or basically, you know, like 1/50th shutter angle, 1/2 shutter angle, and have it be a much smoother zoom. You can use to figure out how right. And then the other thing I did is add a little sound effect on that too. Again, like I don't think these things are really necessary in the, you know, preceding or the following 25 minutes of video, but in the intro we're really trying to like draw people in. Anyway, the motion blur here was really hard. Usually you can use that transform effect here, this thing, to actually create that motion blur, and I couldn't do that here. What I had to do here was go into a separate After Effects composition and then do motion blur in After Effects, which brings us to After Effects here. And man, there's quite a lot going on in here. I wonder if I have... That's a linked composition. Yeah, so this is probably it. I bet if I open this, I'll find keyframes, and I do. So I've got keyframes here. We speed up. We're scrolling through this entire clip. I think I might even be manually keying this. Doesn't matter. But yeah, we scroll through the entire clip, and then there's a keyframe to stop it up here. And then you can see if I turn on and off motion blur, I don't know. I just think it's a really pretty effect, and it was worth the, you know, 2 minutes of time for me to put it in After Effects, make some changes, and then bring it back into Premiere so that when I say, look at this whole channel... I mean, I made a whole YouTube channel out of it, so clearly, like, not what I'm talking about. It's a lot more of like a little snappy thing. Let's see, what else can we cover here? I've got a bunch more clips. I punched in on this clip. That was kind of helpful. Okay, I do want to explain the drawing over video stuff because I think that's a really good way to display what you're talking about. But we should do that in like a future example. Okay, so there's music, we're editing, we're doing little jokes. I actually really like trigonometry. Let's just get to the juicy part. The thing I am afraid of is aerodynamic control. Okay. I want to point out some stuff here. First, the background has texture. Second, all these little dots, using movable fins, they all move. And third, you can see the texture of the pencil here. So, okay, how did I do this? Because I'm really proud of it. I think it's like, I don't know, you just want to create... You want to create the vibe that like someone really wants to explain something for you. And so if it looks like a chalkboard or a whiteboard, or like, you know, it doesn't just look like I'm typing out text on the screen, I think that's kind of a more exciting or intriguing, or I guess like inviting feel. Like I want it to feel amateur in the right ways. So this was complicated. The first thing I did was was create the background. So this is the background. It's got this awesome little animation. I used a white stock image for the slate and then inverted the colors. And so we get this really cool, like opening up, moving these dots everywhere. And then it kind of evokes a graph paper feel, which is what I was going for. So all of this was done in After Effects. If I look at drawing one, I think that's where it is. No. Okay, so I don't need the layer tab. Okay, so what's happening here, and we can invert it so it looks accurate. What's going on here is we have this slate, right? We have this like black slate, and then there is a video that I can't remember the name of, but he showed how to basically do this animation for all of these things, like slurping in. This is the example I pulled it from. You know, he animates like all this interesting stuff. And anyway, you can purchase these. I mean, you can do the tutorial and learn how to do it, but at some point, like, I'm not trying to become an After Effects god. I want to create certain effects, and this effect looks great. So I purchased the files from him, and yeah, and so I used this. I tweaked a bunch of settings. Like obviously we have more dots in this, and then I used the wave warp tool on here. It's not on this one, is it? It's on the shape layer. I really don't like After Effects. where is this? Okay, effects, wave warp. Here we go. So the wave warp, I keyframed it so the wave warp doesn't start until all the dots are out. And then near the end, it stops. And I did this like painstaking animation. This was really hard to get the velocity on it right. It like ramps up really, really carefully and zooms into one dot to basically cut out of the animation. And we'll see that in a second. It is going to take a minute to load if it loads at all, especially with the motion blur. But you can sort of see the dots start to move in. They're moving in. There's motion blur, like especially in this shot. Doesn't it kind of look like we're going to hyperspace? We've got this blur on the outside. And then we zoom into one dot. And then what you can do is use different screening modes or opacity modes in Premiere to take that dot and put something under it. So as an example, I've got this, I inverted it, but like I've got this section right here. Non-moving fins to keep the rocket on course. This is called passive. And you see that, I mean, it's low frame rate, but I fade out the drawing over it. And then underneath, I used the screen mode right here. I used the screen mode. I didn't do it for long, and then I also faded this in, so it's really, really subtle. So like in here, it's actually just, you know, against black, so you can't see anything. But then as it fades in, you start to see it, and you get the reveal of the clip. And it's kind of goofy, but it happens fast enough. It happens fast enough that it's like kind of smooth too. Okay, now let's talk about the drawing. Do we have anything else to cover? There's more clips. I'm trying to tighten stuff up. Let's see. Oh, we should cover one more After Effects thing, which is this succession of clips here. In this video, I'm going to show you the first time that I have ever gotten supersonic aerodynamic control to work. Okay, couple of things. First, the launch. I don't even know if I like this effect, but what I did is I used that same transform clip, and as soon as the rocket starts launching, see all this motion blur around the side? It makes it feel a little bit more like the rocket is exploding off the pad. I don't know. You know, maybe what I do is I drag the shutter speed down so the effect is like not quite as intense. But we'll see. It is what it is. It's not, you know, we're not making like a feature film. Okay, this stuff, well, this is easy. I mean, this is just like a screenshot of SolidWorks, but then this stuff here. Supersonic aerodynamic control to work. If anyone watches Johnny Harris, I think he makes great videos, but he does really good data visualization for his videos. I think visualizing like data or plots or numbers is very hard to do in a compelling way unless you're deeply invested in it already. And he's covering like geopolitics and all sorts of stuff that is difficult to, I think, create footage for that isn't, you know, either just random stock footage or a screenshot of Google Maps with lines drawn over it. And so I think, you know, he does a bunch of stuff in After Effects. One of these things is create a third dimension for the things that he's trying to show. So like you'll notice this is at a skew and the camera is orbiting it. Right? As it's moving, by the way, as the plot is progressing. And that's easy to do on Curve because you literally click this little thing right here. You toggle down, there's different modes, and then there's a Joe mode. They made it for me. I feel very, very blessed. But then you type Joe mode and it'll scroll across the screen because they saw that I was doing that in videos. And then this is intense too. Look, more motion blur. Look at this. More motion blur. Following the lines down. It's also orbiting. Like it's not, you know, it's clearly in 3 dimensions. These lines have a horizon basically. And then this here too. So first you'll notice it's on that background that we created earlier. We're going to get a lot of mileage out of that. And then I can show you the actual plot animation here. It's a little bit messy. I did it in a couple of steps. Okay, so we've got these plots, right? And, you know, again, motion blur all comes from just clicking this little box here. You can set the composition settings, I think, for shutter angle, but, like, it doesn't matter. You just want, at least I just want a little bit of blur in there. And then I leave some spaces blank because I know that I'm going to go back and put some screenshots that aren't, you know, super high fidelity animated, whatever, or just like me replacing a flash chip. All that stuff is fine. And then I'll cut back and forth. And you can see, I mean, yeah, I don't know that there's a lot to explain here other than just like, I got really generous with the amount of time I was willing to spend in After Effects on this. And I think it's going to pay off. Because now I have a bunch of new skills that I can put into future videos and this video. And like, maybe I don't go quite as hard on everything this way, but I feel like it's a little like, you know, if I 8 years ago had to think about how much I would have to learn about rocketry in order to do the things that I wanted to do in rocketry, I would not have done it. I wouldn't have put in all of that work. But because like I chunked it up into little tiny projects and little tiny things where like, okay, I just want to make a flight computer. I don't care about propulsion. I don't care about simulation. I don't care about code. What I care about is like routing traces on a PCB and locking in on that. Now, whenever I need to make a PCB, I haven't done it in a long time, but like I'm not scared to open up Eagle or KiCad or whatever and just do it because now I know that I can learn that skill. I will probably need like a refresher, but I did it. I did it once. And actually like 10 years ago, I did some motion graphic stuff with After Effects too. I didn't know what I was doing, but it has served me really well because now I know like a lot of the ins and outs of After Effects. Not even the ins and outs. I don't even know it that well. But anyway, okay, so that is animating the plots. And then there's one more thing that I wanted to address here before we move on to the rest of the video. So I've got these clips. Is this a crossfade? This is a crossfade, right? Yeah. I've got these clips. I put a little title, supersonic arrow control. Okay, and then here's the white version of it. Here's the light version of
Do
this
aerodynamic control.
background.
As you might be aware, I'm on a long journey toward building a space shot, a rocket that goes over 100 kilometers.
So this is not going to render super well because it's sped up. You can see 2,500 times or 2,500%. Here's how I do this. I've got a Photoshop document that has 16:9 like background. That has a 16:9 background. So I've actually done a couple of these so far. So here's one on a black background. This is when I animated the little thing around the rocket with the tilted exhaust. So this bad boy right here. So you need a way to like, you can obviously just draw it and put a screenshot in. But what I do is I open up Photoshop and then I start screen recording. I use OBS for it. I can just, as an example, I can use QuickTime for it. So if I do Command-Shift-5 on a Mac, I don't know what it is for PC. It's like, you know, Windows Option R, I think. But if I do Command-Shift-5, I can put the box like right around where I want to record. And then I can use, what I have is a Wacom tablet or Wacom, whatever. It's one of these bad boys. I don't remember how much this was, but I think you can easily get them for like under $100. And I love this thing. I've used it to like make slides and presentations. It's pretty responsive. It comes with like a little plastic pen. And then I'm using the pen now. I guess you'll just have to trust me. But you know, you can use the pen to move the mouse around, and that allows you to draw much better than clicking and dragging. What I did for this one was I put, if you look really, really closely, the layer with the rocket the opacity is really low, but it's under there. But you can't keep the layer under there because of color correction reasons that we're not going to go into. You want the actual video under there. So what I do is I put it down to like, I don't know, I think I had it at like 7% opacity. So I can still kind of see what I'm trying to draw over. I screen record it, right? I turn on the screen recorder, I draw over it, and then once I've got the clip, I bring the clip into After Effects, right? Or sorry, Premiere. I'm gonna open this sequence. So here's the actual clip. You can see the rocket under it. Like, do you see that little exhaust plume right here? The drawing is under it, but I want to overlay this onto the actual footage. So what I've done here is first I put it into a nested sequence because I had to, there's a bunch of stuff in these clips where like I take breaks or I cut out mistakes that I make or whatever. So I speed it up and slow it down to fit my needs. Then I put it in a nested sequence. In the nested sequence, I move it around so that it overlays on the rocket. And if I wanted to move it, I could easily move everything here. And in fact, another good reason to not record on the rocket is that I decided late to do a little bit of a dim. So I used Lumetri color. And once we zoom in, we dim the light of this so it's easier to see what I'm trying to draw over. And then finally, in order to get this text, like this drawing, over the image, we use the lighten blend mode. So there's all these blend modes. They're just actually, they're just mathematical expressions for like how you blend something in there. So lighten for white text on a black background will delete most of the dark parts of the video. So when I have this like dark, overlay or whatever, like that's all going to go away because I'm drawing pure white. I'm drawing pure white, and the lighten mode will basically delete that. So I could do whatever I want under this, and it doesn't matter. And so same thing for the light background stuff. Same thing for when I say aerodynamic control right here. This is a dark background, but it's the same type of thing. I've got the background layer under it. I've got that background layer exported from After Effects, and then I take this drawing stuff, which is just a separate clip of me on a black background writing out aerodynamic control right here. I scale it a little bit, I change the time a little bit, and then I put it into the lighten mode. And so lighten, again, it's going to drop all of the black stuff and then just like let whatever is behind your image come through. And then finally, I mentioned this earlier, but the light version of this is basically the same thing, but in reverse and a little different. So now you have a darken mode. So on this one in Photoshop, I still have the file here. In Photoshop on this one, I drew on a white background and I used a different layer here. I drew it out. I also drew it out with a textured brush. You can see, if you see my mouse, like it looks kind of weird. It's a textured brush. And a couple of notes about this. If you hit it, the textured brush is kind of like annoying to see. So if you hit caps lock, it doesn't go away, but it puts it in a smaller, like it gives you little crosshairs that are a little less visually intrusive. So we've got the textured brush. I drew out what I wanted. It took a couple of tries. So of course, same thing as before. I had to like chop up the different segments of this to try and get it to work. And I didn't do a super precise job, but it doesn't matter. It's an animation that shows on screen for like 10 seconds. And then, yeah, same thing. So it was done on a white background, like a pure white background. I just drew out what I wanted to draw. And then I came in here. I put it over the fancy background. I scaled it a little bit. And then this goes into the darken mode. So that we can see that textured white background. You can see that there's like some subtle paper texture. The little dots are moving
toward building a space shot, a rocket that goes.
It's a little hard to see. It won't render in real time, but yeah. And then I cropped it a little bit because it had some of the edges of Photoshop in there, so I had to toss a crop on there to like make sure that didn't come through. And that is pretty much it. So that's where we are right now. And now that we're through the intro, this is like 3 minutes in of a 25, 30-minute video. This stuff is a lot easier. So I don't expect it to fly through it, but it will be a lot easier than trying really, really hard to dial in the intro. And so I am going to do that now. All right, here's where we're at. We've got a whole timeline full of clips. We're not quite at the end of the video. This is the sponsor segment, and then I need to cover the rest of these things now. Whoops, I'm trimming clips on accident. So we've got lots of B-roll. There's still some stuff missing. Any yellow clip here that says draw, when I hover over this, if it, ever decides to load, it will show me the letters or the word draw here, and that means that I have to go back and redo this part there it is, and actually draw over this. So we'll use that technique that I showed earlier where I draw in Photoshop, I screen cap it, I put it in here, and then I overlay it on the little animation. So we've got to draw some stuff. There's still some overhead shots in the beginning. Like this just says overhead here, if, again, it ever loads. And the overhead shots are shots looking down at the desk mat, where I'm like actually bringing out papers. There's a bunch of that stuff that happens. Where is it? I mean, I talk about the Sidewinder a bunch, and then I think we're doing it here. I don't know, dog. There's a bunch of extra pickup shots that basically have to happen. But I think I just figured out how to do something that I've been trying to do, or at least not trying, but like I've been jealous of people who do this in their videos. So, okay, I have this shot here. Wow, okay, there's a lot of messiness on this timeline. I have this shot here. Also need to turn on Do Not Disturb for a little bit. Okay, so I have this shot here. This is a drone shot of far. And when I shot it, if I just bring it up in the raw here, so this is the actual file, when I shot this clip, I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't know how to do it. So you see this a bunch in like Mr. Beast videos and stuff like that. I've got this shot of the far sign, right? I hold it, and then I slowly back off. Well, now it's putting the time remap. So I didn't realize that it would do that. That's really interesting. Okay, if I reveal this in project, it should show me the actual clip, right? Okay, so here it is. So in real time, the shot is like, it's a nice shot that it took me like 6 tries of pulling back to get the rotation rate right. And the goal is like you start off on the far logo and then you zoom back out and you reveal, the whole site of far. I think it's an interesting shot. The thing I wanted to do is what I accidentally revealed here, which is you start at far and then you time remap and you snap out to the much larger version. But this is like not that smooth. Like these clips, if you were going to be really accurate about it, like these really fast movements, you kind of want some motion blur on it. So here's one of the problems with that. There are a couple of types of blur in Premiere. There's one that you can do with the transform effect. So when you see those little snap zooms, here, where's like a good example of this? Like this has a little snap zoom and it's using the transform effect right here. It doesn't render very well, but like you see as it zooms in, there's this motion blur and it's directional too, right? So like we're not zooming a lot around here. We're not zooming a lot around my face, but we are zooming, really hard here. And just to further illustrate the point here, if I drop this to 0, there's no motion blur on this, and now the motion blur. So it's like it smooths things out. That's one way to do it. But of course, I'm not using the transform on the drone clip because the drone clip is already shot. It already has the movement baked into it. So you can do a couple of things with this. The first is you could try a directional blur. So if I just search blur, there's a couple of different types. Directional blur is what you want to use if you're going like side to side or up and down. So when I put a directional blur in there, if I do like blur 20, something like that, see how the blur is kind of just vertical? And I can actually change the direction of the blur. It's really trippy to look at it. But I can change the direction that the blur is going. So you could basically keyframe in a little bit of fake motion blur. The problem is we're kind of doing more radial blur. And Premiere does not have a radial blur setting in it. So the first thing you might try is you go, if I right click here, replace with an AE composition, After Effects, it gives me this thing. It reports a generic error, and then it doesn't even work in AE2. Like, it's at the wrong part of the clip. I don't think it can figure it out. I think maybe already having the time remapping on it is a problem. So that's fine, whatever. I rendered the clip out, and now it's in the exports here. So this is the shot.
Thankfully, we don't have time to talk about how gross this looks because it's time to head back to FAR to launch this thing again.
Right. So that's the shot. Sorry, it's a little quiet. We're going to take this, put it in After Effects, and then create that blur ourselves. I think I may have already imported it, but it doesn't matter. We're going to take this. I'm going to drag it, and not seeing the window that I want. I think it's like... Is this it? New composition? Yeah. So I drag it to the new composition, and it creates a new composition with it.
Thankfully, we don't have time to talk about
how gross this looks because it's
to
time
head back to FAR to launch.
Whoa! Okay, pause. Let me switch the audio. We need to know when this stuff starts going really, really fast. And so, like, I would say around here. How do I add a marker? Marker. Add. Shift. What is that? Layer, markers, up 8. Caret 8. So that's that. And then it really, like, slows down here. So, oh, look at that. I added a marker. Nice. Oh. All right. Well, whatever. This doesn't really matter. Okay, so the thing we're looking for here is, apparently, I haven't done this before, but I watched like a tutorial or two. So radial blur. If we do a CC radial blur, that's, I think, what we want. I am not super sure what the difference between all three of these is. I heard CC be used. My words, so good. Let's just do the regular radial blur and see what that gets us. Wow. Mamma mia. So type is zoom, right? So this is already, we're already cooking.
Gross this looks because it's time to head back to FAR to launch.
Oof. The computer is not happy.
Gross this looks because it's time to...
I've been eyeing the Mac Studio for a little bit. Okay, so we can also set the center point, which is kind of going to be like here. Zoom, let's maybe go to 20, and then we have to keyframe this amount. So if I go down here into effects, radial blur, what we'll do is we'll start off at 0. So there's 0 motion blur here, 0. And then as we ramp up, this is maybe the fastest we go. And then it should start slowing down, I think, here. Like, it's a pretty intense slope. Like, if we look back at what the slope here is, there's only a small period where it's actually at the peak. So, like, here and here. I should have put markers on this, but whatever. We move, you know? And 0. Okay, so let's see how that looks.
Gross this looks because it's time to head back to FAR to launch.
Hello?
Gross this looks because it's time to...
Yeah, see that? So I think we've got our end too late. Okay, let's leave it there, but we have to tweak the... We could do easy ease for these. But then I want to open the graph editor and we can change the slope because like this is too intense toward the end. Whoops. So I can pull this little guy. Yeah. Yes, queen. Okay.
Gross this looks because it's time to head back to FAR to
Oh
launch.
my God.
Gross this looks because it's time to head back to FAR. Gross this looks because it's time to...
Yeah. Look at that. Okay, great. So that looks really good. The motion, the blur is like still there while we're moving fast, but it drops off. Yeah, this is great.
This looks because it's time to head back to FAR to launch this thing again.
Damn. I'm cooked. I'm cooked. I'm cooking. Call me Gordon Ramsay, dog. All right. So now we're going to take this. We're going to say, oh my God, what am I looking for here? Add to render queue. Add to render queue. We're going to output to exports. Oh my God. That's a hard thing to say. Output to exports. Drone shot 1. Blur. And then I want high quality, which is going to be ProRes 422. And then we can render it. Then it's going to go back into Adobe Premiere, and then we'll have the nice motion blur. I mean, it's one shot. I love that sound. It's one shot, but like it's good to be proud of the stuff you do. It's good to put in work. It's like the work is the reward. I don't want to get too high and mighty about it, but like I don't know. It's fun to push a little hard sometimes. So I'm going to take that, disable it, and I got rid of the audio clip, I believe. Yeah.
I see the way it looks. I am not proud of everything I do. Thankfully, we don't have time to talk about how gross this looks because it's time to head back to FAR to...
Yeah, look at that. So when we punch out like that, we've got this motion blur sort of centered around there. And I like it. Awesome. That's a great clip. It's like a second of video. It doesn't have to be super intense, but it's nice to work hard. It's nice to put in effort. And most clips don't need that amount of effort, but it's like the little details that I think at least make me very proud of this video. It's the stuff where like when I'm showing something, there's a little bit of motion in the background of this shot because the dots are moving around. So I don't know, feels good to put in effort and be proud of the stuff you make. That's it. That's the tweet. All right, one more thing to mention here. You hear this sound? Time to head back to FAR to launch this thing again.
1, 0.
That high-pitched continuity beep is it's tuned out for me. Like I have no let's just do simple. I don't hear it anymore. It's just nothing to me because I've heard it a bunch of times at this point. But it's really, really annoying. So let's take it out. We can do this with a parametric EQ. Parametric EQ lets you target just a specific place that you want to actually affect parametric EQ. It's a little easier for me if I can see it. See this right here? Right around where that 4 is. Let me play it one more time. Launch this thing again. See that? This is a frequency thing. It's a logarithmic way of displaying the frequencies. So like low frequencies, high frequencies, things cut off around here. This little spike, what we want to do is first narrow in on exactly what tone it is. Again, this is like very high effort. You don't have to do this. No one has to do this. I just like it. And actually, we could either... I can see it so clearly that I just know that I'm going to do one of these. Here, let's back to FAR to launch this thing again. So I would like to just solo this track so that it's easier to hear it. Okay. I don't really know what happened to number 4. Oh, okay. I'm like doing something stupid now. So we want this here.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I can't really get it. Is it 33? Whoops.
0. With the blue tip. In 5.
Yeah, much better.
3, 2.
Hear the difference there?
Tip. In 5, 4, 3.
Cool. And if you really wanted, you could take out other things too. Like you hear that hum, someone's got an engine running. Whoops.
With the blue tip. In 5.
You to take that out.
4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, that's good enough. I don't really care. What we're going to do is start there and then fade in. It'll be subtle and then big. Whoops. We don't have time to talk about how gross this looks because it's time to head back to FAR to launch this thing again.
1, 0.
Okay, the fade in has to be longer and it has to get up higher. Thankfully, we don't have time to talk about how gross this looks because it's time to head back to FAR to launch this thing again. All right, and then we'll put the other clip here. We'll fade this out, and the other clip is going to be the launch clip. And that goes, okay, there's a bunch of stupid stuff here. Flight 2 Z-Cam is the tracking camera. We do this. I think this is the launch clip. Is this mine? This is mine. Nice. And this is definitely, yeah, this is flight 2. Okay, so because of this camera and how it is cheap but amazing, I have to resync the clip here so the video shows up in quarter speed, or I think it's actually 1/5 speed. So the video shows up nice and slow. I wish I could just find the liftoff to show you, but it feels like the proxies didn't sync, so maybe not. It doesn't matter. All of the audio is out of sync. So this is like quarter speed, right? It's pretty slow. All of the audio is out of sync. The audio is recorded in real time. So what you have to do is you just select the audio and you go 20%. Oh, shit. I hate it when it does this. I have to unlink it. This is like a stupid bug. 20. No. Oh my God, is it not going to let me do it? All right, fine. I will just manually go to 20 because I live in the dark ages. Yay! Okay, so now we can do this. That is not my flight. This is my flight. Okay, so that's like the first loud clip, and now I have to go back and resync the video with the audio because, again, the camera is very cheap, but that means that we get really, really good quality. We just have to deal with a bad UI. So I'll trim the fat. There we go. And now we have a clip. Nice tracking shot. Good job, me. All right. That is going to go in here. Maybe we'll do half speed. So 250 is half speed. 500 would be full speed. We go to 40. No, 50. There we go. So this is all just going to get passed down. So much clicking. My goodness. Maybe it's just most impressive at the full speed. And having a little countdown would also be helpful, I think.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Why did it desync again? Oh, man. Okay, there we go. So we got a resync.
1, 0.
Cool. I love it when it doesn't play. That's actually my favorite thing. Great up. Another gorgeous ascent here, visually speaking, but okay, that actually lines up really well. I might push it just a little bit further this way. Yeah, okay. I'm going to keep editing, and I'm going to turn off OBS because it clogs up my CPU. Yeah, I will be back at some point with more things to talk about. That's it. All right, this is the part that I'm least excited about, and I will show you why. So I've got most of the video edited, right? Let me move this back into frame here. Most of the video is done. Like, I mean, there's like stuff that I have to like do here, but those are easy things. I can do those tonight. But you know, most of the clips are placed. I feel pretty good about how things look. This last section is just me talking about flight data. Granted, I'm not super concerned about like, if you're someone who's made it 20 minutes into the video, you're probably going to make it another 4 minutes. I'm not super concerned about viewership dropping off that intensely. Mostly it's just I want to tell a good story, and I want a really satisfying end, and I want people to make it through because then I'm going to show a lot of cool animations. So I hook them with this promise, right? Let me change the sound output so you can hear it. Footage, right? So I talk about how there's no onboard footage. Start recording for whatever reason. Actually, that's not totally true. Maybe that's not the way to phrase it. We do kind of have onboard footage. I'll explain in a minute, but first let's look at some flight data. So my hope with that statement is to be like, let me hook you a little bit to be like, oh, there might be onboard footage. And then this is like data, data, data. In fact, the disturbance, yeah, all of this is just flight data that I want to look through. Granted, you know, it is interesting to me. It's just hard to sell that to people because there are a lot of people who watch the BPS channel that aren't super into rockets. So how do you make data palatable? How do you display it in a way that is interesting? And yeah, so like I've got all of these plots. I've got a bunch of plots here and a bunch of data that I want to like toss into this. But the reason that I'm worried is just making it look good. So what I want to do is animate a bunch of it in After Effects. I did a couple of clips like this for the beginning, and if I can figure out where this is. Yeah, like I did a couple of clips like this for the beginning. I think it was actually in a linked comp. Yeah, like there's these plots that sort of flash on screen. They're animating, they're doing this. This is, I think, entertaining enough that people can stay watching it. But it's a bunch of work. So, you know, it's not that I am not willing to do it. It's that I don't want to. But you got to do stuff that you don't want to do. That's the way the world works. It's how it happens. So let's do it. The good news is this already has the background. So we don't need to do too much. This already has this background here. Okay. Anyway, it's a long video, but you know, to really get started here, it's important that I remain focused and at the top of my game. So I have the Max Verstappen Red Bull to get me through it. Cheers. Ooh. Red Bull's not good for you, but I think I might be becoming a Red Bull guy. All right, let's figure out how to do this. So first I want to watch through and just understand what we have to animate, what we have to do in the plot. Okay, so we're starting with acceleration, and then we're going to have velocity. So there's a couple ways we can do this. I'm going to just do this to make the lines thicker and whatever. And then we'll zoom in as much as we can to get it high resolution. So there's a couple of ways to animate plots with curve. This is curve, by the way. But if you go into more and Joe mode and type in a value, it will use that value to scroll the plot across the screen. And this is really cool. Wow, my mind is so slow. The Red Bull did not fix it. This is really cool. The problem is I kind of want to like toss individual things on the screen as we see them. So what I mean by that is like, what if I could just have all of this displayed and then reveal velocity over it? So actually, I think we may need to manually overlay all of the stuff, which is not super hard. It's just a bunch of wipes. It's just a bunch of wiping back and forth, which is what I do in the bathroom. So I know how to do it really well. Okay, if I go into edit here, on the axes, we can set the min and max. I think we're just going to go max is like 425 maybe. Will that work? It peaks a little bit. 435? Yeah, 435. Cool. So it's a little above 400. The min is going to be negative 190. We're just going to try to use the whole plot. Oh, no. Okay, negative 200 so that it shows 200 on there. Okay, so that is locked. I'm going to screen record this. It's roughly 16.9. So that's our blank. We can frame hold. This is the acceleration. We can frame hold. This is the velocity on this axis. We can frame hold. This is the set point. Then we have the Ori XB from flight 1. Then we remove this, and then we do the Ori from flight 2, which is compelling. Okay, so that's the full flight data. All right, dude, I'm procrastinating on this so hard. It's crazy. I really don't want to do it. I really don't want to do it. Okay. All right. So I have this clip, and now we need to do a little bit of editing. I'm going to drop this in here. We're just going to make a new composition. We're not even going to make it 16 by 9. This is a long clip of a bunch of plot stuff that we're going to use. And that is the plan. So, oh my gosh, hold on. All right. In order to do this, it sort of has to come across in the right order. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to frame hold on a ton of stuff. I'm going to frame hold on this. It's, you know, what's tough is that this is, I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm seeing the home stretch of this video. And, you know, it's just really hard to be a famous, successful social media influencer, entrepreneur, and just be filled with success all of the time and have nothing bad ever happen in your life. It's just really hard. Stupid. Okay, so here's the plan. Oh, what I was saying is I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So we're gonna what is it? Add frame hold. That's what it is. I'm gonna do this for the rest of these clips. And what I was saying earlier is that it is getting hard because I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So I am starting to get the emotions or the like feeling of having the success of completing a video. And the problem is I haven't completed the video. There is more work to do. I probably have another 5 hours maybe of work that needs to happen here. Oh my God, what the hell is going on? Why is it doing this? Add frame hold. Okay. Yeah, I have like another 5 hours of work that I probably have to do on this. And so it's starting to get tough because I'm like, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I can see it. So we start there. And then this is 0. Ooh, you know what we could do? So like that animates it. You know what we could do is we could do snap zoom, or we could do easing. Ease out, ease in. Does this look good? Not really. I don't think that's really worth it. But I do want it to go slower. So we're gonna make this whole animation. God, this is so annoying. It is a privilege to get to do work. It is a privilege to do cool things. It is a privilege to do work you love doing. You know? That is a privilege. We're going to take this linear wipe. We can literally just copy paste, right? Then this comes over. All right. So those are the plots. It's a little messy. It's not perfect. I don't love it, but yeah, that data looks really good. And now we need to take these things, put them in After Effects, give them a little third dimension, which won't be hard, but like it's all a lot of steps. And I don't know if you can tell, I'm starting to get sick of it. I'm starting to be like, come on, can we wrap this thing up? Let's get this show on the road, etc. I need like a little second wind, you know? Let's do something else here too. I want to take the current timeline and duplicate it so that if I mess anything up, something catastrophic happens, I have an older version. So this is going to be V5, and we're going to start editing only on V5 now. Okay, it's plot time, gamers. It's plot time, and I really don't want to do it. I Don't want to do this. We're going to reset all the transform stuff. Okay, that's great. So good. I'm so happy all the time. All right, pals, it's a new day. We're in the home stretch. This is the hardest part, I think, of making a video. I mean, starting is hard, but finishing is harder. So where we're at is that almost the whole thing is done with editing. I completed the end section. I've got a bunch of overlays and stuff like that. I've got all of the plot stuff is done. So all of that is over here. We've done a bunch of nice animations on like showing these plots. Very proud of it. I've got all of the animations that were done for the video too. If you haven't seen the video that we're talking about, why are you still watching this? Go watch that video first. And then the sponsor segment's already done. That gets edited and then I compress it down so it doesn't get messed up. But yeah, okay, so this is good. The other thing that I think I may have talked about early in the video is that the sponsor segment is approved. So I send that off first thing. Not that this is like widely applicable, but I send it off first thing. So it's already been approved, which means that I can just publish when I'm ready. Nothing is more frustrating than finishing the video being like, I'm so excited for people to see this. And then you need to wait like 3 days for a sponsor approval. So there are a few more things we need to do to close this out. The first one, we need to film a few segments. So there's stuff that needs like overhead footage. We made a couple of little notes app things about that. I'm going to head into the other room and film some overhead stuff. I'm going to print out a paper that I want to talk about. It's nicer to have the paper actually like in person. I can use a highlighter and like write over it, underline stuff as I talk through it. It's just better for learning. It's better for ingesting information if you're reading it and hearing it. And then okay, so that's the overhead stuff. Then I need to do a bunch of drawing. There are a bunch of drawing segments like this that say draw over them. And so we're going to use the Wacom tablet, whatever, to do those drawing things. We'll screen capture them using OBS. I'll put them in, I'll overlay them. We already talked about that. And then finally, what we need to go through and do is two more things. One is credits, titles, anything like that. I'm going to do a watch through of the video, and as I go through, add titles for things like, oh, if I show a clip from the video about Phineas, a fin-controlled rocket, I can go through and add like the little title in the bottom that says, you know, what this thing is from. We need to do that. There's a couple other titles that I want to add, and then finally, we'll do one color correction pass. I'm going to sneeze. Oh, God. Anyway, I'm going to do one color correction pass, and then that's going to be it, because I'm dangerously close, if not past, overcooking the video. But I don't know, you want to make things that you're proud of. We've talked about this a bunch of times, and yeah. So on each one of these passes, too, I'm trying to notate what needs credit, what needs to go in the description. That's always a thing I leave to the last minute, and I'm trying to do better at that, where, you know, I upload the video, it's ready to go, and then I'm like, shit, I need a title, a thumbnail, and a video description. So that's what we're going to do. First step, let's go film some stuff from the top-down shot, and then we're going to draw some stuff, and then we're going to add titles, and then we're going to color correct, and then we're done. We're done. All right. Peace. All right, our shots are done. I've imported all of the footage. We've got a bunch of stuff here. Some of the stuff is close-up from the Sony a7 III. Some of the stuff is the overhead from the RX100 IV. And we're going to cut together this first part. So I've got this shot right here, or it's a lack of a shot. There's something I'm a little afraid of. For the last... Right, so these shots are all going to go inside of this box. We'll move this over here for now. These shots are all going to go inside of this box. It's going to be like a very cheeky, cute editing thing. It's going to require a little bit of masking and a little bit of work. But remember, the high effort stuff in moderation, everything in moderation, but the high effort stuff makes you feel good about what you're creating. If you're like stagnant, I'm not saying like try harder, but also a little bit try harder. I don't know. That seems to have fixed it for me. So what we need here is a couple of intro shots, and I've got a few of them here. There's no proxies, so you know these files are 4K. It's a little hard to easily go through them, but I've got a couple of these, right? Like this stuff, and then I got a close-up to cut in halfway through. Okay, and then I slam it down to the table at some point. Come on, give me a wide. Here we go. Okay, that's that. Then I'm gonna slam these guys down. Oof, that does not sound good. I think that's it. Is that it? Yeah, okay. So all of this stuff is going to happen in really quick succession. So what I want to do is, you know what? I just want to give myself a lot of room here. We're going to push all of this out. When you hit A, see this tool in Premiere, when I hit A, this tool selects everything to the right of it. So I just moved the entire timeline. I can move, well, okay, now that's a whole mess. But if I click at the beginning, right, that's the whole timeline selected. And then I hit V and I go back to the regular cursor. I can move the entire timeline around. It makes things a lot easier and, you know, less hectic if I need to pull long clips into the beginning of the shots here. So there's something I'm afraid of. There's something I'm a little afraid of. The drums are going to come in. We're going to have to just like cut that together later. I may actually need to record some more audio for this because the audio from the A7 isn't that good. But now, so I've got this really quick. I took 4 clips of drawing the lines here. That is very underexposed. All right, so I want no gaps. This is going to be longer than I thought. I'll take this, which I know is very still, and then we're going to add a frame hold. So in this, we're going to say add frame hold. And now I can extend this as long or short as I want, and this is not going to move. And that is very, very important because we're going to use it for a bunch of stuff. Now, okay, we can start to dial this in. I could put a flip on this, or we could just do it the easy way, which is to say rotation 180 degrees. I want the camera to look the way that I want it. The camera sort of shoots upside down, and so I have to reverse it. Another thing that I want to do here is stereo spreader or stereo expander. So the RX100 shoots in stereo, and if you're listening with headphones, it's really annoying to hear that in stereo. I don't know that you can hear it. If you have headphones on right now, you can hear the difference between like, there's specifically like this. Not that stuff, that's all mono, but like this and this, that's mono. The first clip is mono. Anyway, I'm not going to keep explaining it, but I'm just going to toss that on all of this. We don't really need it on some of these things, but I want it mono, and then I want a multiband compressor because we're just going to toss the same thing that I do on everything at this point, which is the broadcast preset. That's just going to crunch things. It's going to make them a little more sparkly. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, buckle my shoe. A little afraid of. All right. Pretty cool, right? It's a little bit long for what I want. Okay, great intro. So we have room to spare. I've put this on a track that won't get hurt. For the last 9 years, I've been building rockets and... Okay. I'm going to have to pull this from somewhere else, which is really, really annoying. I bet if I take this, I can push it out and get one more clip in here. So we're going to start to do some real nasty shit here. So this should be on beat. Right? Let's move it back because I can't hear the kick. Yeah, see, it's close enough. It's close enough. It doesn't need to be good. It just needs to be good enough. So how do we want to do this? I think I want this to be on top, and then we're going to make a mask. You smell me? You smelling what I'm stepping in? So we're going to make a mask. It's going to be an inverted mask. And I'm going to need to go full scrim for this one. Oh my God, my computer is not stoked about what's happening here. We're going to draw these things to the corners. Oh God, the frame rate is so bad. Okay. Please subscribe my Patreon so I can upgrade from the Mac Mini. Mostly kidding. You can make good content regardless of your tools, but this sucks. All right, so there's a little bit of feather, which is just what it does. I mean, that's pretty good. Maybe we encroach a little bit further. Great. There's a little bit of a line down there, but I don't really care. So now, check me out. We can do this, and anything that's under... Oh, that kind of looks like shit. I mean, whatever. For the last 9 years, I've been building... Hello? Please, sir? Please, sir, may I have some zoom? Oh, my God. Okay, there we go. Joey B fights with Computer Simulator 2023. I've been building rockets, and most of them... Yeah, here's what we're doing. Ready? This gets nested, and it gets the transform on top of it. Then we use that with the 180 shutter angle, right? We take this position, scale, whatever. And I'm just going to punch all the way in if I can. How does that look? Oh, did I adjust the wrong thing? I always adjust the wrong thing, dude. I don't think 150? Is that too much? Ooh, it's not quite enough. 155. Okay, so then we're going to do this. This is going to be ease out. This is ease in. And we get a nice little zoom in. For the last 9 years, I've been building rockets, and most of them don't fly like your typical model rocket. That's not... I think that's pretty good. Let's go ahead and export and see how we feel about it. It might just be too much, too. There's a lot going on. I mean, this is an intense intro. Let's just do high bit rate and intro test 1. And we'll export and see how we feel about it. Maybe the paper flip is too much. I don't know. I think we're getting into overcooked territory. Or overbaked. I have a secret. There's something I'm a little afraid of.
For the last 9 years, I've been building rockets, and most of them don't fly like your typical model rocket. That's not the secret. I mean, I made a whole YouTube channel out of it, so clearly, like, not what I'm talking about. The thing I like that. I like it. I rock with it. Send it. All right, cool. So that section is done, and now we have a couple more to do. I might, I think we're going to have to do some audio tuning. I'm not that worried about it. Hey, gamers. I stopped recording the process of making this video. I was doing okay in terms of, like, progress, but I just started getting in a bad mood, and I was like, I don't have time to record all this stuff, so we're just going to do it. Anyway, I can show you what I did toward the end of the video. So I think when we left off, I was starting to cut together like this. Ooh, shoot. I was starting to cut together this section where I like chop up a bunch of paper and I'm like, look at this. We're going to take a look at this interesting paper or whatever. And so, yeah, I went through that. I mean, most of this stuff, animating the Mr. Beast bit was really stupid. I regret putting this in the video entirely. I can just like click through and see if I can find anything interesting. So far, it's all pretty like run-of-the-mill stuff, same as was going on earlier in the video. So like anytime that you can use B-roll, I do. Anytime that you can use basically like a drawing section to illustrate your point, you do. It's a visual medium. Don't just, I don't know. I'm of the opinion like don't just sit in front of the camera talking, but maybe that's like me trying too hard because it would make it so much easier to just sit in front of the camera and talk. But yeah, and then, bunch of old footage, bunch of other things to re-illustrate points. I'm getting more comfortable, by the way. This is a repeat clip. I think I played this clip like 3 times. I'm getting more comfortable repeating a clip in a video. For a while, I thought I had to do everything novel, everything new. And actually, I don't think that's totally necessary. You can repeat the same clip a couple of times just to reiterate your point. Yeah, other things here, more drawing segments. Got an Onshape mention, shout out, not sponsored in this video, but they have like a channel sponsorship. So every video for the next, I don't know, however long, you'll see me mention Onshape. And it's a product that I believe in, so it's a good fit. But let's see. Yeah, more B-roll. There's these launch sections. I'm always a little torn on how to do audio for the launch sections. I didn't think it through too hard this time, and I'm glad I didn't. I think I have a tendency to overbake my audio and overbake my color correction. And on this video, I tried to like pull that back a little bit, which is nice. And when I say overbake, what I mean is like this audio clip right here, I don't think has any significant audio effects on it. Yeah, it is nothing. It's straight out of the camera. There's nothing good sounding about that. And instead of trying to replace it or EQ it 30 times or put a bunch of compression on, I was like, whatever. If people are going to click off because the audio isn't nice, actually, I don't totally believe that. I believe that color has an effect and audio has an effect, but now I'm just saying stuff. I mostly mean that people are going to understand the audio from an onboard camera is dog shit. So, like, it's whatever. Yeah, we've got some CFD clips. We're going to talk about that in the next video. More run cam stuff. Let's see. There's the bit about the thing here. I think I've talked about this before, but I'm trying harder with this video to put like more sound effects and stuff in. If I play this, right? That's like a little woof. And so when we zoom in on this clip, and I'm zooming in with the motion blur, like we were doing earlier. I've got the motion blur in there. It's like animated. It feels smoother. And it's not that much extra work, especially once you templatize it. So like now, if I go into effects and I look up zoom, I have easy zoom and snap zoom. I made both of these, and they're templatized things that I can just click and drag onto a clip, and they'll do this zoom effect for me. So I'm trying to make the editing process easier. I also think I'm going to need to just create a more general asset pack for Premiere if I want to have a solid upload rate. But that's another video.
Okay, moving on, moveon.org. We have the second launch. You know, it's all more the same. There's like a couple little sound effects. What is this clip here? I think this is a bubble pop. Yeah, there's a little pop bubble sound effect when I put an arrow in this clip to indicate where I'm talking about when I say, look, I looked at the telemetry, and then you pop over and see what I'm reading out. And trying to figure out what else I did here. Couple of talking segments where I let them breathe, especially stuff where you're trying to convey a point of like, oh, I'm super disappointed. There's no music. There's only the talking audio. There's a lot of dead air. Like, there's nothing. There's a lot of dead air. And I think when you're further along in the video, you don't have to try so hard to maintain attention. You know, it's like a hockey stick of retention on the curve. And so in the very beginning, and for what it's worth, the video's out now. It's been out for like 5 days. It's working. This video has much better retention over the course of the video. We don't drop below 50% for about half of the video, which is good for the channel. Usually we're down to like 40% by then or something. So it makes a difference to have that really snappy intro. One thing that I worked really hard on, and I probably showed earlier in this video, is that I 3D animated the plots so that they like move around a bunch. People were not a fan of that. A couple people thought it was funny, and they were like, dude, your plot is in free floating in space and time. But most folks were like, it's distracting. So, you know, I tried something new. We got some data back, and it turns out that the free floating plots are maybe not the move. I do kind of think a good way to do it in the future, though, like this one snaps in. And I think a snap in is still acceptable. Snap in and then maybe rotate toward a still frame. That's probably acceptable. But I think having them like spinning around and orbiting, largely people did not seem into it. And then yeah, we've got the animation stuff toward the end of the video. These are really cool. It was kind of a nightmare to get all the file formats to work because everyone submitted in a different format. We had like MKV, MOV, MP4. This one from Gabriel was a WMV, and no program that I worked with enjoyed working with a WMV, so I just screen recorded it, and that worked well enough. And yeah, then we've got, you know, a couple clips in the video and the ad segment. So that's like the whole process of editing for me. I think all in all, it took a week and a half or something like that. I mean, from scripting to publishing, it was probably a week and a half or 2 weeks. It can definitely happen faster. This is a pretty baked video. I tossed this thing in the oven for a long time, metaphorically speaking. And I don't think you have to do this much. Not every video needs music. I'm talking to myself, but not every video needs music. Not every video needs this much animation. Not every video needs like the Johnny Harris intro where you've got like all sorts of interesting graphics and, you know, motion graphics and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, look the Mr. Beast face here. Yeah, not every video needs this, and every now and then it's just fun to push really hard and be like, I wonder what I'm capable of edit-wise. And watching this video back, I watch it and I'm like, damn, I did that, you know? I worked really hard, and I did it, and it feels really good. It feels good. I feel like even in a year or 2 years, I can point back to this video and be like, I'm proud of this. I can do that with most of the videos that I've baked pretty hard. Like the Silo launched model rocket, I can point back to that video and say like, this is a good example of a well-edited, well-story-told video, and it's like 4 years old. And there's a couple of those videos. All of the channel trailers are like that. I feel that way about the two recent rocket propellant videos. Like those are great. EBDB, the video I did over the summer, like that's a nice balance of not a ton of heavy editing, but like a lot of context and a lot of B-roll and a little bit of music. I like feeling proud of the stuff I produce, and that usually just requires that I work hard at it. And I don't know, not to get too into it, but like the journey is the destination, right? Learning to enjoy the process is kind of what prevents burnout, for me at least. If I make these videos and I expect that at the very end, I'm going to feel this massive sense of success and joy, and it's going to fulfill me completely, I'm always going to be let down. What actually happens is I publish the video and I'm like tired and I'm anxious and I don't know if people are going to like it. And so I have to learn that like the destination is not the reward, because oftentimes the destination doesn't feel the way you anticipate it will. You have to learn to love the process. So when I'm in these videos, when I'm in these edits, when I'm like slogging through all of this crap, I have to learn to be like, to find ways to enjoy it. So that means learning new stuff, doing tutorials, pushing my own limits, or just remembering that like it's fun to share things you're interested in with people. And maybe that's a good note to end on. So thanks for watching this video. If you made it this far, my goodness, congrats. I don't know if this is helpful for anyone else, but I always, am curious about like how people do their videos. If they're like a little gremlin hobbling over some Postmates every single day, editing videos together, or if it's like, an easy process for them or whatever. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. I will not do one of these for most videos, but every now and then it's fun. All right. Peace out. Goodbye.